Hi,
Kevin.
Dom. How are you doing?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So, welcome everybody to the next session before the break around AI design in an agentic world. We have Dom Heinrich, the global head of AI design from Coca-Cola here. And if you have questions, please leave them in the chat. Let's see if we have time for them. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's a pleasure being here. Let me get through the typical things. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we
And
see your screen.
wonderful. So thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited being here again at the Autonomous Innovation Summit. I think it's an amazing event that Board of Innovation is organizing. I think the third time. I think it's such an important perspective. We're not just talking about AI as a technology, but also actually talking about it, how it can influence design, leadership. I hope you heard my co-founding colleague uh, Tony Jones speaking about from Creative AI, speaking about it. I'm speaking a little bit today in my role as an adjunct professor at the Pratt Institute. I have a little disclaimer. Yes, I work at the Coca-Cola company, but I'm not speaking on behalf of my role there. And I think this is also good because I'm sharing my personal perspective here and giving you a little bit of an insight on being in this space for over a decade, working closely with a lot of the leaders in the space and coming from a perspective, this is more design oriented. And I think what's so beautiful about this is that design has always been advanced. In the relationship with technology, right? And we as humans have always seen technology as an enhancement of us. And I think that's the beautiful part because it allowed us to create iconic designs that are recognizable. And the more the technology came in, the more powerful our designs got. And what I think what's so important about to know about this is it actually helps us solving real problems and making the world more accessible. Here's two great examples. On the left-hand side, one of the projects I was um, honored to work on, where we helped basically people with hearing disabilities to communicate with smart voice assistants, and especially in a world where we moving towards where everything will be conversational design. I think this is a really powerful initiative that we did in 2018, so many years ago. And on the right side, you see a project that my former employer did with IKEA, where we really looked into how we make the world more accessible for people with disabilities through 3D printing. So I think what design does is having this perspective, right, and bringing people together and using technology as an enabler for that. Because relationships are precious and living, breathing connections among us humans. And they have a special chemistry that brings relationships together. But I think looking at this in today's world, they're not longer just between us humans, right? And I I overpaint the picture with robots because I do not believe that the robots will be anytime soon in our living rooms. If anybody of you follows me on LinkedIn, you know that I'm liking a very straight perspective on things. That I think that things are overhyped. Not that they don't happen, but I think there's this perspective we sometimes have that things happen much quicker than we think. And so you see that happening, and there's a lot of great experiments out there where you can actually see where technology is and isn't today. But where it is going is, I think, the part that excites me as a designer the most. And when we talk to our AI design students at Pratt, we have that same perspective and we see that same excitement. And our world will be more adaptive, which I think from a design perspective, if you think about user interfaces on a smartphone, on a website, and a digital screen, everywhere we go, when we look around, these will be built in real time, designed in real time. I think that's really something that's exciting. We will see a world where everything is omni-modal and where we have actually elements. IoT was a big buzzword many years ago, but I think this is now coming really to life in the world we are living. We will see a more optimized life, optimized lifestyle. We already can see that, and I think we're just at the very beginning of this. We will see extended realities. I was not a big fan of the metaverse. I think not as it is being described, but I believe that we will live in a world where we use less of our smartphones, and a step in that direction is definitely having glasses and having basically extended realities. But I believe that our world is more about being human and being together and being connected. And I think that's where I see a world coming that's degenerative AI. There will be the people who completely opt out and completely disconnect, but there will be also the people who anticipate AI almost like an infrastructure, like electricity is today to us, as something that's there, that enables us to switch on and off the light. Honestly speaking, who thought about in the morning when you did that, oh my God, magical electricity is flowing through. So see AI more as something that goes in that direction. It will become a commodity, will become super cheap. And yes, it will be also become super efficient, as we just learned. If you apply the right thinking method, then you can come up with entirely new ideas, blowing up the internet for no good reason. But I think allowing us in moving from a world that is technology as a tool, which we see today, we're moving actually in this world of intelligent adaptive systems. I think one of the big buzzwords and things that we are talking about is data, right? And there's a lot of data points already around us, weather and health and smart devices like our fridge, location data, which has actually a real benefit when you talk about getting an Uber or navigating through your city. But I think what's happening at that moment, and it is all very human-centered, right? It's like it's my interaction with it. While where we're going towards is a world where actually machines will start talking to each other and understanding, well, the human is running outside and it's hot and he's dehydrated and he needs something to drink, but the fridge is empty, so I need to order something. And I know that location, I know where this person is, so I will actually organize that for them. So the human becomes actually more in the moment and more focused on the moment. So these machines will talk to each other. And I saw some examples from Cognizant and from other big organizations, and it excites me, but also, no offense, it also scared me, of course, because I think that is something that makes it suddenly very human. Well, it isn't, right? It's more an algorithmic intelligence than an artificial intelligence. What these machines do as well, and we saw that happening a few weeks ago, or I think it was actually last week, when OpenAI announced Operator, and it's apology for the quality of the video. It's not actually the best quality, but I think you get the gist. Is like that an agent goes on a website, interacts with a website, like we humans do, and can see and make choices here, just like humans. And so it's not just about speaking. These machines will also be able to see and navigate in our world as we do. So ultimately, the boundaries between humans and AI will blur. And I believe that we're moving in a new relationship model, one that we hear a lot already since about 2.5 years. To be honest, this goes on much longer, but for the public domain, it's more about 2.5 years, where we have this augmented relationship with a machine, right? We interact with it, it gives us information, it helps us designers in the world of making new designs and making new visuals and creating text. And so it has a big application in the augmentation. But we're moving also in this world where we have a parallel to this, which an autonomous relationship with the machines that is running around us and is a part and a backbone of us. But from a design perspective, one of the things that comes immediately to my mind, and here's two great examples. On the left side, a woman is clearly not happy in that hospital with the robot interaction, the augmented interaction between each other. And on the right side, we see people manipulating self-driving autonomous cars driving through San Francisco by putting a cone on top of it. So from a design perspective, that is really interesting because our emotions are still personal. Our decisions are often a reflection to an action. And this is an obviously lead that we need to step in to have a better interaction to design these relationships. We often talk about systems like ACONIC, which is authentic, coherent, original, neurodivergent, inclusive, and clear. So having principle in place, and I can only recommend everybody to build principles that create a clear guideline for your design teams in order to design these relationships. I don't want to go too much into the detail of this slide, but I think what it ultimately comes down to is Mark Knapp's, who is a teaching professor at the University of Texas, for his work about the nonverbal communication around the relationships and the relationship models. And he explains it in a beautiful way of how we come together and come apart. So if you apply that to a machine, you actually need to think about the coming together part. So both parties are fully partnered in the bonding through trust, through mutual appreciation. Their relationship is indefinite and only can be broken through a formal notice, right? And designing for this condition means you are now in charge of how well the machine and the human trade information back and forth and trust each other. And just imagine you have the swarm of agents. How do you actually cut through this? And I think that applies new challenges, applies challenges how agents talk to each other in the relationship, how they resolve conflicts, how they avoid reinforcement, how they will exchange information that might be biased or might be wrong, right? That also means we need to think about the human-agent relationship. How do we clearly express what we want? Setting clear goals, setting clear constraints, providing feedback. And the vice versa, right? How the agent is talking with us and communicating with us in order to have an understanding what we want and explaining if there is a roadblock or if it got information that it anticipates to be wrong, instead of having the agents fighting it out on their own. So it is really interesting to look at that and having that perspective. What you need to understand about this is, and I love Jacob Nielsen's quote, and I unpack that for you. I know this is a mouthful, but AI is an intent-based outcome-specific human-machine interaction. What he means and what he says about this is, to date, until a few years ago, and I think still today, the machines, the non-AI machines, the interactions don't really change, right? They're becoming really static. While AI machines are starting to evolve over time. The machines are learning, therefore they are changing. In parallel, we as humans anticipate that as well, right? And we learn as well. We are habitual creatures, but at the same time, we are changing too. And this creates a dynamic and a feedback loop that can or cannot establish a good human AI relationship. So when we design, we talk a lot about, wow, so far we designed for a single fixed outcome, right? So that was the intention of designing. So for day one, for day zero, we designed an outcome that was fixed. Now we have this shift to AI design, which means that designers are no longer planning for a single fixed moment in time. Instead, they're setting the parameters of an evolving, ongoing relationship between humans and systems. So their role now evolves, crafting a dynamic, responsive human-machine interaction. That means designers are actually the ones who actually think more and take on more roles than ever before. And I think if you think about this, while I'm not talking about us, but I mean, think about the adaptability and the ways design systems are being applied is actually at scale, is actually changing in a way that is dramatic. And at the same time, these machines are really struggling with understanding us. So if you take a traditional design system, the machine has a really hard time to make an interpretation about it, about the definition, and struggles with have a deeper meaning of the design. So as an example here, I have 0 to 4 stems per layout. The machine might say, if you change the format of the layout, I can use 6 stems because you never told me not to. And so this is something that is really critical to be really clear about it. We're starting a research study with Pratt around that topic and with a couple of other players in that space. And we want to codify the language and essentials for AI readability to make better designs that allow us to move from uniformity to an infinite system, right? With not pushing to think in a way that is complicated, but actually understanding what a machine might anticipate in order to build these adaptive interfaces in real time in a AR world, or in a physical world, or on our smart devices, which I believe going away anyway at some point. So one of the things we talk a lot about is that required shift from design thinking to thinking design, meaning what we teach as well is this solving for complex problems, like in this example on the right side, finding proteins, which Demis Hassabis did, the Nobel Prize winner from Google DeepMind, through gameplay, right? And mimicking the human thinking of learning in a different way. You saw it with DeepSeek, right? Who struggled to get their hands on the chips that are super powerful. So they found a new way of thinking about it and designed a new model that is now disrupting a little bit the space. It doesn't mean that their model wouldn't run even better on the latest AI chips from NVIDIA, but it means that the thinking of different and solving a problem because of a need becomes more important, and anticipating that requires a new way of working. And so one of the things we do at the moment with the University of Applied Science in Lucerne, we have a research project which we started with them about infinite design. So if you think about the traditional design cycle, and I think Board of Innovation has actually a evolved system about this, but if you apply the infinite method to it, then you have a human-led side and an AI-led side that runs in an infinite circle of thinking and generating and simulating things. And that approach is where we as humans lead with ingenuity, with thinking methods like second and third order thinking, and we allow the AI to generate new solutions and simulate them. And we're going back and forth in real time, which creates this novel cycle of building solutions that you weren't be able to do before, and that push the boundaries of the mediocrity, which we see out there a lot. So that is a model we will share a little bit more in the coming months with you around that research. So please feel free to follow or reach out. And again, that's a model that comes from me and Tony Jones being professors at Pratt. But in this case, we're working with the university in Lucerne. I think what you need to know is upskill your organization. Your employees must be really great thinkers and different thinkers for ambiguous situations and solutions. Understand that our world moves from static to adaptive, right? These design systems evolve. And then you need new talent, right? And you need not new talent in, oh, I need to hire somebody who is an AI designer or an AI leader. I know I have this in my title. I know we have this as a class that we teach, but I think you need to be the top designer in the world. You need to be the top strategist in the world. And that's the people that need to get hired. And ideally, we create a relationship with AI that is useful, seamless, and being integrated into our lives that makes technology almost like invisible. A big hope, and I always end with this, and being a little bit maybe hopeless romantic, I hope I'm not, is I think AI has the power to reshape our relationships, potentially reconnecting us to each other and to ourselves in a way that we always should have been being connected to each other, but got disrupted by the technology in the last 30, 40 years. So I think there's a big opportunity that AI has to make our world better and make us more human and have more human interactions. That being said, thank you so much. Follow me on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out.